I'm going to teach you how to solve problems like these, like sine 60, without using a calculator and instead using this unit circle and thinking about everything on here. So first of all, I'm going to draw a plane that we're going to call the UV plane instead of the XY plane. So the only difference is that this is U and this is V. Let's say we have a terminal right here. We can draw a triangle here. This triangle would be 90 degrees. So then this is U, this is V. That would make this point right here U, V. And this is R. Say that this angle, we'll call this angle theta. So then the sine, thinking about these trig ratios, the sine of this angle, the reference angle, sine is usually thinking about SOHCAHTOA, opposite over hypotenuse. So this is opposite over hypotenuse. And this is U and this is R, so that would make V over R, so that makes sine V over R. That would make cosine U over R. And that would make tangent V over U. We can also do the reciprocal of these trig ratios, and that's going to come in handy later. So the reciprocal of sine is called cosecant, and you can remember that because, and the cosecant is just going to be the reciprocal, so it's R over V instead of V over R. This is R over U. The reciprocal of tangent is cotangent, and that's U over V. You can remember this because the S always goes with the C, S always goes with the C. We should also think about the way angles move. So this angle would be 135 degrees, and that's because it's going in the positive direction, so this direction is always positive. And then we can also go in the negative direction, so then this angle would be negative 135 degrees, and that's the negative direction. Angles can also go around more than once, so if this is 360 degrees, twice, which is a spiral, would be 720 degrees. Now we can look at this unit circle that I made. So I'll explain this as concisely and quickly as I can. So basically, this unit circle is on the UV plane, UV. So then these points, just first think about this. This point is 1, 0. This point is 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and then 0, negative 1. So it's like a plane, and it's like that. And then you can think of each of these lines. They're the degrees which in the triangles. So think about these as like special right triangles, like the ones that I drew here on the plane. So this one, this blue line, is 30 degrees, and the 30-degree triangle, this is 30, 60, 90. So then, based off of that, we already know what the sides of the 30, 60, 90 degrees are, and that's root 3 over 2, 1/2, because we have those memorized. And then we know that the small side is always going to be 1/2, and then this is always going to be root 3 over 2. And then based off of that, we know that the hypotenuse is 1. So we know that the radius of this whole circle is 1. And then the same goes for 45. We know that the sides of 45, 45, 90, a special right triangle, are root 2 over 2. So then that's both of these. And then the same for the 60 degrees. And then for this one, it's just like that. Basically. So then this is the first quadrant, and this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. In all of these, you can also see that basically the coordinates are the size of the triangle that are on here, and they're the same for all of these because, as you can see, I drew blue lines, a blue line, a purple line, and a pink line, and they all match in each quadrant, and that's because basically what you're measuring here isn't the degree that it's open, but it's the degree of the reference angle, and the reference angle is the amount of degrees, which is like the space between the U-axis and the terminal ray, which is this one. So this is 30 degrees. And then for 150, it's also, you're not measuring the 150, but you're measuring the 30 degrees right here. And then something that you should always remember is that in each quadrant, there's specific ones that the ratios are always going to be positive or negative. So in the first quadrant, you can remember this by saying all scholars take calculus. In the first quadrant, all trig ratios are positive, and then in the second quadrant, it's polar, so only sine and cosecant, because they're the reciprocals, are positive. This one, tangent and cotangent are positive. Calculus, see cosine and secant are positive here. Considering the fact that sine is v over r is always 1 because the radius of the circle is 1. So then that would just be v, which is this, over 1. So it would just be v. So sine is always v. And we can also remember that this point is v. This is the v point. So that means that sine is always going to be v. So it's always 1/2 right here. And then the same goes for cosine because it's just u over r. So it's just u because r is 1. So it's this. So then, as you can see here, the coordinates are always going to be cosine, sine. And then tangent is just sine over cosine. Based off of that, we can start solving some trig ratios. We can solve these trig ratios. So first, we pull out our unit circle to look at sine of 60 degrees. So we just locate 60 degrees, which is on here. So remember, this is cosine sine, and we notice that this √3/2. Cosine of 225 degrees, we just have to locate 225 degrees going in this direction, and it's right here. And cosine is this one, so it's negative √3/2. Looking at sine of 300 degrees, we go over here, we locate it's right here, so then that's negative √2/2. Tangent of 315 degrees. 315 degrees is right here, and the coordinates of that are negative √2/2 and 2/2, √2/2. So we have to do negative √2/2 over √2/2. So that would give us, because you cancel out the 1/2, so then that would give us negative √2/2, which equals -1. Sine, locate negative 135 degrees, so it's negatives in this direction. You just go up here, negative 135 degrees is here, that's 240 degrees. So it's basically the same thing, and then the sine of that is negative √3/2. Cosecant of 540 degrees. We locate 540 degrees, that's going around more than once, so it goes here, and then that's 180. So then it goes around once plus 180, so it lands here. And then the cosine is just this one, so it's just -1. Tangent of negative 450 degrees, so that 450 minus 360 is 90 degrees. So you go around once in this direction plus 90 degrees, so it's just 270. And looking at the points, it's 0, -1. So then for tangent, you do -1/0 because it's v over u, and these are the points, and then that's undefined because you cannot divide by 0. Secant of 390. So remember that secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so we just find the cosine of 390 degrees and then flip it around. The cosine of 390 degrees, we just go this direction, and we go up here. The cosine is the u coordinate, and that's √3/2. So you flip that around to get 2/3. Cosecant is the opposite, or the reciprocal of sine. So you find the sine of -120. 120, you go around here, -120, and it lands on 240 degrees. Then the sine of 240 degrees is the v, so that's -√3/2, but you have to flip that around to get the cosecant, so it's -2/√3. Cotangent of 210. 210 is over here, so then you do -1/2 over -√3/2. And again, you can cancel out the 1/2, so you're left with positive 1 over root 3, but it's cotangent, so you flip it around to positive root 3. And positive root 3 is your answer. So you may ask, or you may be wondering about what you would do in the case of a test where you do have to think about this without using this handy dandy unit circle. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, you only have to memorize this first quadrant. As long as you know these, you may notice that the coordinates for all these other ones are the exact same. The only thing that changes is positivity or negativity. So in this one, like I said, the scholars, the S, the sign, so that means the sign is always going to be positive. So the letter that it's standing for is the one that's always going to be positive. Here, all of them are positive. Here, only the sign, tangent, and then cotangent, cosine, as I said earlier. So then that will help you know what the sign of the coordinates are. But then for here, you just have to memorize these, and you already should have these memorized based off the special right triangles, based off the sides. So then this one for the smaller side, the 30, 60, 90, the smaller side is always 1/2, and then the bigger side is always root 3 over 2. The radius is always 1, and then for the 45, 90 is always root 2 over 2, and then comma root 2 over 2. So thinking about that, you would just be like, oh yeah, so you would visualize this in your head. Based off of that, you'd be like, oh, so what's the sign of 210? And you would remember that 210 coincides, because what you really need is the reference angle. So this is 30 degrees, so that just coincides with this one. See, the blue line is the same. So then all you need to know is 30 degrees. You just have to remember the coordinates of this, and you remember, oh, the sign is just the V, so it's just 1/2. So that's how you would think about it in your head.